70% of business owners who divorce blame work stress. 86% of those high performers feel disconnected from their spouse despite building the life that they thought would make them both happy. The number one cause to all divorce is, I know this struggle firsthand. My relationship almost fell apart while growing a business and striving for career success. But after 9 years, I learned these harsh truths no guru talks about. Not only grew our bank accounts, but more importantly, built a relationship rooted in respect, support, and deep love. I've seen how relationship challenges don't just stay at home, they follow you into the office, affecting your focus, decisions, your business, and ultimately your marriage. Brutal marriage truth number one: the ego detox. Your ego is your biggest enemy of all. It's what makes you defend yourself when you should be listening. I've done this before. It's what makes you want to fight to be right instead of fighting for your marriage. It's what makes you blame your spouse instead of taking personal responsibility. The more layers of ego you strip away, the more intimacy you start to create. When I stopped making everything about me, how I felt, what I wanted, what I thought was best, I started actually seeing my spouse and actually becoming interested in him again, like when we first started dating. Respect replaced resentment, and understanding replaced assumptions. Instead of assuming everything and I know exactly who he is, what's really sad in today's culture and society is that people have been married for 20 some years, maybe a little bit more, 20 plus years, and they assume that they know their spouse, which is highly, highly false. Probably one of the worst things that you can think of regarding your spouse. I do believe that people do change, they have to face decisions almost every single day, so they automatically do change. So there's always room for conversations for you to get to know your spouse because you genuinely do not know him or her. When I first heard that, it made perfect sense because, growing up, my childhood wasn't always the greatest. I didn't really learn leadership. In fact, there wasn't leadership. And I never saw respect. I genuinely never really saw pure love growing up either. But when I heard that statement of people living together under the same roof for 20 plus some years, it resonated with me because of the way that I saw my mom and obviously, people that she was married to. There just wasn't any harmony nor conversations to getting to know one another because there was assumptions. Take away that word out of your marriage. Assumptions no longer lives in your marriage. What does live in your marriage is sparking conversations, asking questions, get to know them on a deeper level. I guarantee you don't know your spouse on a deeper level. You may think that you do, but I know that you don't, okay? The reason why I can claim this is because that was me, all right? I've been with my man for 9 years, and it's just easy to take each other for granted. It's easy to be lazy, not ask questions. Till this day, I ask him questions. I catch myself asking him questions because I genuinely want to know him more. I know there's so much underneath the surface. There's so much that I can learn from my spouse if I don't take the time to just ask him questions. I may get the answers, I may not get the answers. It all depends on how I position the conversation, how my conviction is, how maybe compassionate I am, those sort of things, how you deal with the conversations. If he is not opening himself up to me, it's because I probably haven't created a space or environment for him to come to me and express. Start sparking up those conversations because I know something will come up. This is how you can detox your ego so you can create a marriage built on partnership, not pride. Partnership is everything that I just mentioned prior to this. Pride is saying, I know the person, I'm too lazy. Since I know the person, I'm not going to ask them questions because I know them. I know exactly what they're going to say. Nothing lasts forever, but we do evolve. So your spouse is definitely changing. Maybe not in your expectations. For 4 years, I was at a new state attending a business training seminar. Every single month, I was exhausted. It was just not really fun, but I was doing it because I was committed. And sometimes people who are committed doesn't really know when to stop. And, you know, our mentor at the time, she's like, we need to detox your ego first before we ever talk about helping you make more money. Because if I teach you how to make more money, you'll still have all those bad patterns, all those bad habits, behavior, unforgiveness. You can't move forward if I'm going to teach you how to make money and it doesn't make sense. It's kind of contradicting itself. It was all worth it because I didn't really expect to have an amazing life the way that I do with my spouse, and also pursuing the things that I love doing, and just everything is booming, everything is going really great. If it wasn't for getting rid of those roots that are not serving you so you can move forward and live the life you've always dreamt of having, because I know it's possible. Brutal marriage truth number 2. Forgiveness is your ultimate freedom weapon. Forgiveness is for you, not for the other person you are forgiving. Let me explain. You can't move forward if you're dragging the weight of resentment from your past. It's like trying to carry 10 big bags everywhere you go. And can you imagine just like carrying all of that weight for years? It's exhausting. Forgiveness is taking layers of ego that's been dragging you down. Ego without forgiveness is repeating old patterns in your life. The more you get rid of those layers of ego, you'll start to see those patterns that has not been taking you where you want to be or become. Each ego layer that you get rid of through forgiveness, you start to feel lighter and lighter. There are numerous types of egos, like I said before, but they are all wrapped around one thing, and that is called fear. How do you get rid of fear? Through action. Action kills any type of fear. Look it straight into the eye, take action so it no longer cripples you, nor it controls you. Forgive yourself for past mistakes. Forgive your spouse for not being perfect. It's a big one. Forgive your parents for what they didn't teach you or taught you. Forgiveness is not about excusing bad behavior. It's nothing like that. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional prison that's been keeping you stuck. This is how you release the past so you can experience peace and emotional freedom in your marriage. I also had to take a step back and genuinely forgive everybody in my life. Even though they didn't do anything to hurt me, we still have choices to take their crap, right? This is what I say. Hurt people hurt other people. So we have a choice to either take their, or not. So yes, in life we have taken people's. So what do? Obviously you flush it down the toilet, right? But most importantly, you forgive them. And for me, I had to forgive my mom so many times. Even though she has always done her best, she taught me the value of hard work. I genuinely love her with every being of my body. But people make mistakes, right? Everyone's gonna make mistakes. We're not Jesus, we're not God, so because of that, we're gonna make mistakes. So you have to forgive those people, even though they intentionally didn't hurt you. I had to forgive my mom. Obviously my dad, that wasn't around for many reasons, but now we have an incredible relationship today, and I wouldn't have that if I didn't forgive him, right? I also had to forgive my past ex-dads. Yeah. There's quite a few. I had to forgive all of them. So luckily they didn't do anything to hurt me, which I'm very grateful for. But I still had to forgive them, because if I want to have a phenomenal, harmonious, incredible, passionate, respectful, loyal, faithful marriage, I need to forgive those people as well. Maybe past exes, forgive them. It's a big one. Forgiving my brother. He didn't do anything. Actually, he's always been amazing, to be honest with you. Maybe not, but had to forgive him, right? I constantly had to forgive Marcelo, which is my, spouse. He didn't do anything at all to hurt me, but sometimes we interpret things not how they see it, but how we see it. Therefore, we may get offended. I challenge you to forgive your spouse, even though you probably think they didn't do anything to hurt you. And it just brought us closer and closer together, which is the craziest thing. So listen, if you know anybody in your life, somewhere down the line, they have hurt you. Okay? Why? Because people make mistakes. People are not perfect. We're gonna hurt you. That's just how life is. I wish it was some other way. And if someone hasn't hurt you, maybe you haven't spent a lot of time with that person. You probably only spent like very little of your time. So you only see the best in them 1% or 0.5%. You don't know the rest, honey. Brutal marriage truth number 3. The self-development paradox. The biggest mistake people try to make is to fix their partner instead of working on themselves. You cannot change your spouse. It's already hard enough to try to change ourselves for the better. Can you imagine trying to change someone else? That's like double the work. And I'm sure you have been beating yourself against a wall when you're trying to change your spouse, because that was definitely me. It just doesn't work. You cannot fix them, ever. I know you're a fixer and a problem solver, but that strategy doesn't work on people unless you develop yourself, and people will follow through your leadership. You already know this. You love to learn. You love to invest into yourself. Same thing goes for your marriage, inside your marriage. The paradox, the more you develop yourself, your patience, communication, leadership, the more your spouse is influenced to grow. It's like really, really interesting shift, at least for me and in my relationship. Your transformation sets the tone for the marriage. This is how you focus on your own growth so you can inspire real change in your relationship. Going back to me wanting to change my spouse, beating my head against a wall, I didn't really do that, but you get what I mean. It was just not working. I was doing a lot of lip service, a lot of time wasted on that. It was getting frustrating, exhausting. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna work on myself, because clearly I have a lot of work to do. When you just humble yourself and you actually come into terms with yourself that you have to change more than your spouse has to change, everything else is history for you, because it happened for me. When I decided that I'm gonna work the most on myself and I'm going to trust the process, that everything else around me will change. You know, the more you work on yourself, everything else around you just naturally, automatically, supernaturally changes. And I was not expecting this out of Marcelo. I was like, you know what? I want the best life for myself, so I have to do this. Clearly, I have a lot of baggage from my past. Everybody does, right? What is that baggage for me? Let me see the baggage, get rid of it through the ego detox, forgive those people, and work on myself to be the best version of myself that I can be. The more that I kept repeatedly just be obsessed with investing into myself and just becoming phenomenal for me, I saw a change in Marcelo. And over the years, he has become someone I've always wanted to marry. In the beginning, it wasn't fun, to be honest with you. I know usually when you're starting dating with people, yeah, it's great, that sort of thing, but there's a couple things that you're like, I don't know, because all the baggage, basically. It's just not allowing you to see something different. But the more that I grew as a person, things around me just started to change. My businesses, the way that I see people, sales, closing tactics, even Marcelo, without me telling him to do those things. He followed through my leadership, and he saw what was happening in my life. He saw the way my demeanor is, how I'm, developing myself as a woman. And he just naturally wanted to become better as well. That is so addicting. Environment is extremely something super crucial and important to help you to succeed in whatever it is that you're doing. If you know that you're in a situation where you probably don't really like your spouse at the moment, you become better. Let them see you become better. That is just going to be addicting for them to become better. It's interesting how that works, but it works. Be more patient, start listening, put yourself out of the equation, get to know them more. They're going to see a different light in you. They're also going to want to become better. Brutal marriage truth number 4. Time management won't save your marriage. Priority management will. Listen, you don't have a time management problem. You have a priority problem. Business owners love to talk about time management, as I love to talk about it, but you make time for what matters to you. If your spouse is the last on your to-do list, don't be surprised when resentment builds. The solution isn't just scheduling date nights. It's making them non-negotiable. It's prioritizing connection the same way you prioritize closing deals. This is how you master priorities so your marriage doesn't become an afterthought. I felt like I was the last priority in Marcelo's life. Now, I don't want to speak, bad about it, but that's just the reality of what it was. Obviously, it's completely different of what it is today. Like, it's non-negotiable that we spend time together and we're extremely present. He wasn't present at all. I felt like not even a priority in his life, to be honest with you. Maybe that's to the extreme, but at the very, very last, I want you to hear me out from a woman. It was very heartbreaking because, especially when you're dealing with someone that has daddy issues, dad wasn't around. Yeah, there's a lot of like abandonment issues. I had that. I just felt abandoned. Like I didn't feel loved because I was the last priority. It's a lot. So it didn't bring us closer. It brought us so far from each other. And when he wanted to leave the house, I didn't let him, like, that bad. I would suffocate him for him not to leave, metaphorically, not literally. It was just my own insecurities that I had at the time. I think it's one of the worst feelings coming from a woman in a relationship, in a marriage, that when they feel neglected, it's only going to lead to separation or divorce, to be quite honest with you. So if you know that your spouse feels neglected, just ask them, hey, have you ever felt neglected by me? This is not about you having assumptions. Assumptions is like, yeah, they have been feeling neglected, but I'm not going to ask them. No, you're going to ask, and they're going to be extremely shocked for the fact that you've asked that, and you're going to make a difference about it. I'm sorry for making you feel neglected. How can I be a better spouse for you to where you feel like you are a priority in my life? What all can I do for you? And you would be so surprised at the kind of answer that they'll give you, because it doesn't mean to spend all the time with you. It does not mean that, okay? Like, yeah, Marcelo and I, we're growing businesses, and I don't want to be around him all the time, okay? As much as I love him, I need my space. I genuinely do, or otherwise I'm gonna go crazy. Life taught me that space is essential. That space is needed in a relationship. It's not because you don't love them. It brings you closer together, and you don't want to pull your hair out and go crazy. So I value space, and it's not for me to be around him all the time. That's not what I'm talking about. You would be surprised of what your spouse will say, of what they need, and really asking that question and really making a difference. Today, I feel a top priority in his life, and that's like a huge achievement, to be quite honest with you. Like, I feel achieved in my relationship because of that. When we're together, we are together and we're present. No phone, no distractions, non-negotiable. Give that a try. Brutal marriage truth number 5. The power of solitude. If you don't take time alone to reflect, process, and reconnect with yourself, you'll bring emotional chaos into your marriage. Silence reveals what you need to fix. Your best ideas for business, they come from a moment of stillness. The same true is for your marriage. Space is essential. This is how you use solitude to gain clarity so you can lead your relationship with wisdom instead of reaction. He really was my everything, and that wasn't healthy at all. So when life taught me a huge lesson, this is unfortunately, I got to a point where I was struggling with severe depression. Like, it wasn't just like I'm sad. It was something really difficult to where it was really hard to get out of. So after that experience, it's unfortunate, something great came out of it, right? Any mistakes or any just downfalls, we learn from it so we don't repeat those patterns, correct? I value space so much, even though I love Marcelo with everything that I have, and I would want to be with him, and it's a little bit hard not to. I have to put that boundary for myself. Brutal marriage truth number 6. Beyond business and marriage. If your entire identity is wrapped up in your business and in your marriage, what happens when either of them struggles? You feel like you're failing at life. You need something outside of both, whether it's a hobby, passion, or a community. When you diverse your fulfillment and you stop putting unfair pressure and expectations on your spouse to be your everything, this is how you create a balanced life so you don't suffocate your relationship. I laugh because I said the word suffocate earlier, and everything was out of whack at that time in my life. So the moment that I took a step back, created that space, I started to know, what does Natalie really like to do? What did she like when she was young? What are her dreams? What are her aspirations? Why is she working so damn much for this business? Why is she money motivated? Like, why? And something just kept revealing within me that I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. Let me pursue that. Let me continue to do it, right? So like for me, I love, this is a little maybe embarrassing, but I love to sing. As a little girl, I wrote my own songs. I sang my own songs. I tried to learn the piano, that didn't work. I also love to dance. As a little girl, recruited my friends to dance with me. I really was proud of myself for being like a great choreographer. I'm a routine kind of girl. Like, I love routine. It keeps me sane. It keeps me, knowing that I'm making progress in life. But when I step out of that and make my life a little bit more creative, it's like, wow, this is a really cool life. I think I'm a pretty cool chick. I get to share those experiences with my spouse. Like, oh my gosh, here's what I've learned. This is what happened. Da 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 da. I wasn't revealing my inner childlike aspirations, if you will. So when I had that space to reflect and really process what's going on, why do I do certain things, a lot of truth came out. So I really challenge you to do the same for you, for your marriage. Brutal marriage truth number 7. From obligation to adventure. Do you feel like your marriage has become just another responsibility? That's because you've lost the fun. If your business felt like a drag every day, you find ways to reinvent it. Your marriage is no different. Infuse adventure, break routines, surprise each other. Fun isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for longevity. You have the money to invest it with your spouse through excitement. This is how you reignite passion so your marriage becomes something you look forward to, not just something you maintain. This is gonna sound very silly to other people, but hey, it's my relationship. Not everybody has to understand it. You have your own relationship and people don't understand it, like things that you guys do. When we haven't seen each other for a while, like when we see each other again, we just can't believe that we're literally in front of each other. We act like kids. We are so silly. He's actually more silly than me, honestly, and I love seeing that side of him because I don't do anything. He just is just really happy. He's more of a routine guy. I know I enjoy routines, but I'm more like free-spirited, more flexible. He's more routine, hardcore all the time. So when he breaks out of that and he sees me, he's like a completely different person that no one will ever see. And I get to enjoy it. I get to only see that side of him. And the only one that brings it out. He's just so silly. We're so silly with one another. We laugh for no reason. We just want to be with each other. When we're on the phone, we want to hear each other breathe. Like the simplest things. Among all the hard things that happened, something that we always had is that excitement that we just couldn't wait to see each other. Even when we were friends, we just genuinely couldn't wait to see each other, which was kind of like a curse in a way because, it's like space. I didn't learn that because I just always wanted to be with him. He always wanted to be with me. So that's when I had to learn like space is valuable. You don't have to do something extravagant all the time. Just being with one another, having fun, laugh. They're your spouse. They're not your employees or your co-workers. It's different. Have fun. Enjoy their presence. Being with them, you don't have to be so uptight all the time or serious. Just let loose, let go, no judgment. If they really bring another whole side of you, enjoy that. Don't care about who is watching. It's just you and your spouse. Brutal marriage truth number 8. The number one marriage killer of all, lack of vision. If there's no vision in business, my friend, what do you think happens to it? It doesn't sustain itself. If there's no vision for your marriage, what do you think happens? Divorce. Having a vision in business is just as important to have a vision in marriage, right? Most couples don't fail because they don't love each other. They fail because they have no shared vision for their future. Without direction, you drift. This is how you build a marriage that lasts, by aligning your vision so you're working toward the same future together. For a long time, I felt a separation between myself and Marcelo. When we made each other a priority, we finally started to make our vision, our mission, ours. We aligned our visions together. Like, what is the vision for my life? What's the vision for his life? For health, for wealth, for fitness? It feels like I am part of this movement, this partnership. Asking questions. How can we align our vision together? What's most important to you? How can we work together as a team to making this happen? When you're working, when you're building a business, you need people, right? Those people will take you to where you want to be faster than if you were to do it on your own. Same thing here in your home, with your spouse, with your family. So how do you do that? Same strategy as you would in your business. How do you get people to follow you, to be part of your movement? You honor them, you ask them questions, you get to know them. Brutal marriage truth number 9. The divine conflict resolution. When serious issues arise, take them to God first. Here's how. Hans Johnson, a multimillionaire like many high-performing business owners, understands the pressure of making critical decisions that impact both business and family. As men, business owners are trained to solve problems logically, act fast, and take charge. But when it comes to the marriage, this mindset often backfires. Trying to fix everything on your own, especially when emotions are high, only leads to more conflict, frustration, and deeper disconnection from your spouse. Let me tell you why this is important for you. You wouldn't make a $1 million business decision without seeking wise counsel, right? You'd look at the data, consult trusted advisors, and ensure you're making the best choice. But in marriage, too many men react emotionally based on ego or frustration instead of seeking the ultimate source of wisdom, which is God. Hans Johnson realized that when serious conflict arose in his marriage, his first instinct was to push harder, argue his point, or emotionally just check out, just like everybody else. But what changed everything? Taking his problems to God before bringing them to his wife. Just let that sink in. You know, we tend to bring all of our problems to our spouse because for whatever reason we feel like we have to put them in a pedestal, think that they're like God, like they can fix our problems. That's God's job. We're talking about something supernatural outside of yourself and actually believing something bigger than yourself. Okay, there's more to life than just you, your business, your marriage. How can you apply this in your own marriage and business? Pause before reacting. Instead of letting emotions drive your response, step back and give the situation to God. Ask for wisdom before opening up your mouth. I had to intentionally work on this myself. This is a big lesson I'm learning in my relationship till this day. I had to unlearn this habit because that's all I saw growing up between two spouses. Seek guidance, not just solutions. The goal isn't just to win or fix a problem. It's to align with a higher perspective that leads to peace, unity, and harmony. Pray over your marriage like you do your business. If you pray, which I highly recommend that you do, I don't know, it just works. Everything seems to work itself out, weirdly enough, and you gain more out of it. So we all need supernatural power, if you will, for something that we're not in control of and can only do our very best. God changes hearts. He can change yours and your spouse's. You pray for success, opportunities, and favor in your business. Do the same for your marriage. Ask for wisdom, clarity, and patience. This is how you turn heated arguments into powerful breakthroughs. So you and your spouse become a stronger, more unified team without destroying trust in the process. When emotions run high and logic fails, take it to God. Pray for clarity, for humility. Pray for solutions beyond what you can see. This is how you solve problems at the root so conflicts don't become patterns that destroy your marriage. Brutal marriage truth number 10. Your marriage is your most valuable asset. Treat it like one. Success in business means nothing if you fail at home. If your marriage is failing, no amount of financial success will ever fill that void. forever. Marriage requires intentionality, just like in business. If you don't nurture it, it deteriorates. What you neglect will eventually die. Your legacy isn't just what you build in business, it's what you build in your family. This is how you make your marriage a priority so you don't wake up one day successful, but alone. The truth is, without a strong, supportive relationship, your business success will always be limited. You deserve more than just surviving in your marriage. You deserve to thrive in both your relationship and business. Imagine waking up every day knowing you have the emotional support and connection you need in order to take your business to new heights without sacrificing your marriage or business in the process. That's the kind of transformation I can help you achieve. If you're ready to finally make that shift, to stop feeling the guilt and frustration, and to have both the successful business and the loving, fulfilling relationship you've always wanted to have, book your call with me today. This could be the game changer you've been asking for. Click the link in the description and schedule your call now, and let's turn your vision into reality. If you're a business owner, share this video with other people that you know so that way I know to make this type of content for you.